Okay, so let's jump right in. What if I told you there's a single, simple law that supposedly governs the stability of, well, everything? I'm not just talking about companies or economies. I mean everything, from the tiniest subatomic particle all the way up to human civilization itself. It's a huge, audacious idea, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Right out of the gate, the source material makes its intentions crystal clear. This isn't some abstract thought experiment. This is being presented as a practical plan, a survival guide for humanity. It sets the stage for a theory with absolutely massive ambitions. So let's see what this big plan is all about.
You know, at the heart of everything is this constant battle against entropy. That's just the universe's natural tendency for things to fall apart and get chaotic. From a star burning out to a startup failing, it's a universal problem. This document claims to have found the solution, a kind of universal operating system that can fight off that decay and build stable systems at any scale.
And this is it. This is the core of the whole thing, the U model. It really all boils down to this one kind of elegant idea. For any system to be stable and last, it absolutely has to have this triad of properties: form, position, and action. The key takeaway here is that if even one of them is weak or missing, the whole structure is at risk of falling apart.
So, let's break down this universal triad. The theory suggests these aren't just some random buzzwords. No, these are supposedly the fundamental pillars that hold up any stable structure anywhere in the universe. When you see it laid out like this, it starts to make a lot of sense, right? First, you've got form, basically what the system is, its identity, its rules, what makes it it. Then there's position, that's where the system is, its environment, its resources, how it relates to everything else. And finally, you have action, which is simply what the system does, its behavior, its purpose. The theory's big claim is you need all three, and they have to be in balance. Okay, and this is where it gets really practical, where the abstract ideas get translated into the real world. For any organization, form becomes its code. Think of its ethics, its culture, its identity. Position becomes its credo, its mission statement, its goals, its place in the market. And action becomes its rights, the rules, the processes, and the sense of fairness that governs how everyone interacts.
All right, get ready, because this is where the theory makes its biggest and, honestly, most mind-bending leap. It proposes that this triad isn't just a handy management tool. Oh no, it's a fundamental law of the universe. And the proof, it claims, is in a direct analogy between the structure of a stable society and a stable atom. So here's the core comparison, side by side. On the left, you've got the atom, this perfect little model of stability held together by its three key particles. And on the right, you have society, which the U model argues is held together by an identical three-part structure. It's a pretty wild connection to make. And the mapping is really specific. The electron, which defines the atom's outer shell and its boundaries, is compared to the code, the ethics that define a society's boundaries. The proton, which gives the atom its core mass and identity, that's the credo, the core mission. And the neutron, which acts as a stabilizer inside the nucleus, that represents rights, making sure everything inside the system is balanced and fair.
Now, a theory like this could easily just stay as a cool metaphor, right? But the U model really tries to become a practical, hands-on tool. It actually proposes a way to measure the stability of, well, anything. A company, a country, maybe even an AI.
And that brings up a pretty big question, doesn't it? Can you really boil down something as insanely complex as the health of a nation or a massive corporation to a single number? Well, the U model says yes, if you're measuring the right things.
The tool for this is called the Stability Index, or SI. And the real secret here is in the math. It uses a geometric mean, which has this one super important feature. It heavily penalizes imbalance. So if any one of those three pillars, your code, credo, or rights, gets close to zero, your whole score just tanks. It forces you to pay attention to all three. And then, the theory introduces what is essentially a magic number. It claims there's a universal tipping point, a line between stability and total collapse. And that number is phi, the golden ratio, which is about 61.8%.
And here is the most important rule of the whole system. A high average score doesn't mean you're safe. The theory states that if even one of your three pillars drops below that 61.8% threshold, the whole system becomes fragile, and you're at serious risk of a complete cascading failure.
This chart really shows it in action. Look at the company on the left.
It's stable, its scores are pretty balanced, and it gets a healthy stability index. But now, look at the company on the right. Its code and credo scores are amazing, way up at 90, but its right score, it's down in the dumps at 30. That 1 weak pillar tanks its entire score, dragging it way down into the danger zone. So if this theory is even close to being right, the applications are just staggering. The final part of this whole thing lays out what it's really aiming for, and it goes way beyond just auditing a company. I mean, just look at this list. The proposed applications are nothing short of world-changing. The source envisions the U model as a blueprint for a world constitution, for global governance, even for a safe planetary-scale AI. Just like it said at the very beginning, it's positioned as a legitimate survival plan for our entire species, a universal template for a stable future. So, this leaves us with the final big question. Is the U model a genuine discovery of a universal operating system for reality itself? Or is it just a really compelling metaphor that uses the language of physics to talk about timeless ideas of balance and structure? The case it makes is bold, for sure. But in the end, whether it's a breakthrough or a beautiful idea is something that's still very much up for debate.
Integrity and their lifespan. No envy, no theft, they echo the words. Trust is the treasure more precious than any hoards in a field of golden leaf. Neath the radiant sun will stand unrooted ones, their hearts beating as one. In our realm, our truth was once lost and forgot. Stand there rooted ones, their integrity unrolled. They drew strength from the earth.